Welcome to Conversations with the USA Racewalking Foundation.
Hey everybody, we're here with a very special retroactive look at racewalking. I have Olympian Nick Christie with me. I'm Jeff Salvage from the USA Racewalking Foundation, and we have a slightly edited version of the 1989 two-hour Nationals. I'm really excited by this because I believe this is the only evidence of me racewalking competitively on video prior to my injury that basically ended my elite career. So we decided we'd do this little introspective look at the race. We're going to do color commentary with Nick Christie. And part of the fun is seeing how many people in this horribly recorded, no offense to the videographer, video that's also just really poor quality because it's old VHS tape that was scanned in. So without any further introduction, we're just going to jump right into the start of the race. And here we go. And there is a preponderance of Ian Watley we can see there racing because it was his friend that did the recording. The early part of the race, the tape was so unstable, it wasn't worth showing. So Nick, we're interested in any comments you might have, including technique, hairstyles, uniforms, you name it.
Well, I can definitely see why Ian Watley always tells us to be really stable, keep the head level.
By
uh,
stable, did you mean in race walking technique or personality?
I don't think he ever comments on personality.
He is the minister of silly walks. So, many a sarcastic comment might leak out of his vocal cords at times. All right. We see here the leaders of the race. We've got Dave McGovern taking Gary Morgan, who's just back from the Olympics, on pass. And I'll tell you, that day, I came to the race thinking, hey, this is the two-hour national. If nobody shows up, I could win my first national title. And I'm thinking that when we got there, Dave McGovern was thinking the same thing. And neither of us were expecting Gary Morgan to show up off of his Olympic performance. And the hope was that it would be a battle between the three of us. Well, as you can see, I'm nowhere to be seen. McGovern took Gary Morgan out hard and was not respecting that he was the USA Olympian from 1988.
Yeah, and Morgan knew how to show up. Like he made that Olympic team, by being the winner. Like that was really impressive performance on his part.
He always said he won the one that mattered. Going by right now was Mark Fagan, and I don't know who.
He
Fagan
definitely
is
got some style with the
286.
crop top.
Yeah. Behind our leaders, there is Justin Koo, and of course, the ever-present Ian Watley. You notice,
Yeah, like a huge difference right now just watching this video is how shoes have developed over the last 30 years. Lot thinner models than what we're seeing in today's walking anyway.
here I am, hunting from the back, as you can see, quite the distance back. Humbled by the people in front of me. The other thing I would say is look at Ian. Look at how much side to side sway he has in his hips. Right, the technique was not refined the way it is today. We also worked on hip drop because we really did try to keep one foot on the ground at all times, or at least the visual appearance of it being one foot on the ground. And we've looked at some stock footage of this, at least of me, and I'm definitely off the ground, but I'm not off the ground more than 30 milliseconds, which was sort of the gold standard back then of you should be no more than one frame of video off the ground at any given time. One frame back then was roughly 30 milliseconds, 32. These guys dueled for at least 10K, at least from what we can tell. And it looks like right here, Gary Morgan is making a move and going to put the smackdown on McGovern.
Did he cut his hair after the race?
The ponytail is pronounced. We don't have a historic record of when he actually cut his hair. But we can see that Morgan is really opening it up on McGovern at this point and teaching him why he was the Olympian. Now, I can personally comment. I'm back here and I'm looking across the track and seeing that McGovern's fading. And I said, if I'm going to do anything, hey, I'm Mr. Second Place. I finished second in a couple of national titles. Let's go for one more. And so I cleanly passed my friend Ian there, although I don't know that he was my friend at the time. I don't even think I knew who he was. Morgan is really just establishing dominance on everybody in the field.
Yeah, Gary walks with a very, very aggressive style. Like he has a nice little lean forward from the hips, and he's really, really driving with that push off. Like definitely an aggressive kind of race walk style, in my opinion.
A lot of people have very distinctive styles. Gary is one you could pick out from halfway across the track for sure.
He's also got that mustache.
Well, the mustachio is always a good thing. The mustachio has almost won the Amazing Race last season.
Ooh.
So we could see Ian's in about 6th or 7th place, and Gary is just, walking by like it's a Sunday workout, making some comments. There were no aid tables back then. There was no personal refreshments. You had water and you liked it pretty much. Maybe there might have been Gatorade, but I don't think so.
And at this point, Gary Morgan would have been one of the few Americans who ever broke 20 minutes for 5K. So like to his credit, he was, quite fast relative to the field. I would imagine.
Oh, there was no question he outclassed us, right? At this point, my only thought is, can I catch McGovern? And I think you could see my intensity, right? And there's a sick part of it. I really enjoyed racing hard. Like this was, I loved every minute of my competitive career that was only really about 5 years long.
Well, the 2 hour race is a pretty pure event for that because I mean, how often do you get on the track and then just walk? You have to walk for 2 hours. You don't know the distance. It's only as far as hard as you go. So
And it was kind of a shock to me because I think that was the year I said I'm going to move up to the 50K, and my first goal was to walk like a 4:15 50K. So I'm walking way faster than my goal 50K pace, and I almost PR'd at 20K. I walked like 1:33:15 through 20K, and I was only training for 6 weeks because I had to recover from my third hernia operation, and I wasn't even out of college yet.
well, and that's what's so impressive here is the pace you're going is quite quick for how solid your technique is, especially relative to today's standard. Like you can definitely tell just by looking at the grainy footage, you're probably walking about half of what the top competitors are walking now in flight time.
I think that's probably accurate. I always focused on technique. We didn't have video feedback and all the stuff that we had back then, but we definitely made a real effort to stay down. And I'm walking sub 4 hour 50K pace, and I'll cross 25K before 2 hours. So when people say you can't look legal and walk fast, maybe we shouldn't be walking 3:30 for a 50K because we're not really walking that fast. We're not walking anymore when we're going that fast. And you do have to have judges. And look at this, I'm going uphill on a track. And Gary just looks super impressive. He's walking by himself. He's got no one to target. I'm not sure when it happened. It probably already happened that I passed McGovern, which I told McGovern I was going to trash talk him on the internet, and this is my trash talk. That if Dave has any evidence at all of him beating me, here I am walking stride for stride with our Olympian Gary Morgan, passing Ian, no McGovern in sight. Dave, I challenge you, find footage of you beating me in video, and I will take away the title. But here comes Gary marching to his 2-hour victory.
Yeah, just
Indeed, we're
very clearly focused. Really, really just driving through.
yep. And
And I
here we
think,
are. Wait, here we're coming to the finish. There it is. And if
ooh,
no one has ever done a timed race, it really is one of those things that it is one of those things that is so odd because when the race is going to end, you just don't know how far it's going to be. The 1 hour was always a lot of fun because you could sort of work as a team through 10K. And then you hit the 10K mark and say, all right, now it's everybody for themselves. And let's see what we could do in the last 20 something minutes or so.
did they hand you off like a popsicle stick or a rock or something to drop as soon as you finished?
Yeah,
I've
typically.
only done the 1 hour once, and I thought that was kind of a fun part.
Yeah, they give you something to mark your territory, but otherwise you just plop right where you are. I guess, the hope was you didn't need aid or anything else. And what was really fun that I haven't participated in, obviously, in like 30 years, was when they had the 1 hour postal. And so
Oh
everybody would
yeah.
do these postals all over the country, mail all the results in, and then there would be a national champion at the end of the year. So you'd be looking and watching other people's races over the course of the year and be like, oh, I got to hop in one more and step my way
And
up.
there used to be like an international postal as well, I think. So like it was like a pretty fun event with, low stakes, but a lot of community around it. I think Joel Fowler is actually hosting a 2 hour event in May. If anybody wants to try to beat Jeff's record.
No,
And a
there's
former
no.
resident at Jeff's house. I think he beat him at table tennis or
I think he beat me at pool, or
pool,
maybe the shuffleboard game. But
shuffleboard.
maybe we need to reinstitute, a 1 hour postal internationally. And you just hit on something that I'm gonna diverge in a different direction. But one thing you saw in that race was, I mean, it was the 2 hour nationals, right? Like that was probably the least attended national championship that there could be. It's such an obscure distance, and it's a further distance, so you're not going to get the beginners doing it. But there was a nice field of people, right?
Yeah.
There was when Dave McGovern's coming in third, right? You're saying like, wow, there are people in the front, but there were like Ian was seventh, and he wasn't crawling at all. Bagan was a good regional walker who was there, who I don't know where he actually finished, but I think he may have finished above Ian. But there was a sense of community. There was a sense of clubs. And club rivalries really existed back then that really helped race walking. People cared about winning the national team title in addition to
Yeah,
the
we
individual title.
we haven't even had the Grand Prix in the last few years, like we've only had since COVID just the big kind of three championships, maybe an odd 5K here, which I think Ron Salvia has been hosting, and that's about it. Like just indoor, outdoor, and like the 35K, 50K now marathon relay. Hopefully that team stuff will come back with the mixed marathon relay.
That really is the fun part of seeing the marathon relay and getting ahead of ourselves. If technology comes out that allows us to really monitor the loss of contact and get back to having shorter races that have meaning, then suddenly instead of having a 2-person relay, maybe you have a 4, 6, or 8-person relay, right? Like
Oh yeah,
imagine an 8 by 1 mile, right? And the
yeah.
excitement that would create. And on one side, if Alan James is listening, I will laugh, saying that he's desperate to find somebody on Facebook to compete at.
He did find a partner, by the way.
I
Yeah,
understand that, and that's the two sides of the coin, right? So one, I'm going to make fun of him that he's a masters athlete, desperate to find somebody to compete with. But on the other side, it's doing exactly what we want to grow the sport, right? Somebody who might not have raced heard the siren song of Alan James and is now flying potentially across the country to participate in the race. And now we have 2 additional worthy people in our team trial race that wouldn't have been there. And that kind of camaraderie, that community, as you coined watching the race is exactly what we need to kind of rebuild and grow our sport. So any final parting words?
No, just it's always great to see these kind of historical looks, especially how technique is developed for better or worse, depending on who you ask. Um, I I'm just floored by how clean and low to the ground, you look the rest of the field relative to kind of what we're seeing now. So it's
I
uh
don't think it was just me. I think Dave
yeah, I
looked
know, like
exact.
the whole
Just
field, like
trust me. If I could have pulled Dave off the ground and made fun of him, I would have. I'm that shallow, right? But Dave looked just as good as I did in terms of
yeah.
legality, and I do feel like, and I was looking at a frame by frame, and they're very blurry frames. I feel like Morgan came off a little bit when he put the surge on Dave, but most of the race he looked like we did. But I will say, out of the archives, I have 3 more tapes, which, Pierce O'Callahan, I assume you're not listening, but I think there's evidence of you racing a Penn Relays on one of them. I don't have a VCR, so I'm sending them in blind. And we'll see what comes back. And then Nick Christie, we will have you as our official color commentator of the USA Racewalking Foundation and bring you back for maybe some Penn Relays color commentary.
Oh,
Although
thank
I
you.
guess we might get in trouble from Penn for doing that. But
I love to see it.
very good. Everybody, have a good day.